Okay, I started recording. Let me share my screen. So, hi, Ramesh. Okay. So, guys, let me know if you guys see my screen.
All good.
Okay. So, today we'll talk about RBA, introduction to RBA, and how can we create some uh, notable alerts using risk score and risk objects. Let's go to the agenda. So today I will introduce about myself and why we need to use RBA and a quick RBA overview. And then we'll talk about what are the benefits after implementing the RBA. And then I will give an example or the use case. And then I will show you a demo on the use case. Okay. So first introduction. This is Venkatesh, and I'm the Splunk consultant from BitSibo, working in IT for the last 10 years. Today, I will speak about RBA, which
Hey,
makes
thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Your screen is stuck. We're not seeing your.
no, for introduction, it's just agenda only.
Well, no, it just says you are presenting your screen. It doesn't actually show your screen.
Oh, okay.
It's stuck.
Let me stop and then let me share again. Okay. Do you guys see now?
There it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's the right slide. There you go.
Oh, you didn't see the first screen then?
Oh, there we
No,
are.
exactly.
Okay. Okay, this is the introduction. And then let me go to the next tab. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, like this is Venkatesh from BitSivo, working in IT for the last 10 years. Today, I will speak on RBA, which makes most of the SOCs work easier and it improves the efficiency of operations. So, and the next slide will go with why we use RBA. So, as before Nano mentioned, he has a lot of alerts fatigue. So, we'll talk about all these three topics here. So first thing is the number one issue for many SOCs today is alert fatigue. So we have so many technologies generating different types of alerts with various scales of severity and confidence. It has become impossible for SOCs to look at each and every single alert, and when we do, we want to spend more time on the important alerts or signals. For that, RBA can help us. Also, in the past, we may ignore the alerts if the volume is too high. We simply cannot look at all of them at a time. But with RBA, we can expand our detection, coverage, and monitor more things without worrying about having enough people or adding more people to the team. Also, we can increase our analytics time range and boundaries, like looking at the larger time scale of, looking at the larger time scale for low and slow activities, as well as look across multiple diverse data sources and correlate them. That builds the a complete picture. So, in another way, which makes our sim smarter. So that the simple thing is like different types of alerts will be alerted in the enterprise security, and for SOCs it's different. It's difficult to analyze all the alerts at a time because we have two or three SOCs in an organization, and if you have like 20,000 or 10,000 alerts in a day, they can't concentrate and take a look at all the 10,000 alerts, right? So with the help of RBA, we can group those alerts, and the SOCs will can analyze because it will give a bigger picture and alert. mainly alert fidelity. It will give the alert fidelity so that you can know what are the things you want to monitor, and the high priority alerts. So, and let me go to the next slide. So I will give a brief about RBA. So first of all, here I want to use some ES terminologies like notables, because whatever the alerts we trigger in the enterprise security, we call as a notable. So first, we have two different things here. One is without RBA, we call as a traditional notables, and with RBA, we call as RBA notables. So here, let's take a look at the traditional alerting from the viewpoint of security analyst. The SIM might generate three separate alerts. For example, let's say we have three different sources, or maybe one source we have, and it's generated three separate alerts. And each of those alerts is probably assigned to different security analysts at a different point of time. And each analyst seeing only one event in the string of activities dismisses the notable. So none of the analysts have the full context of the notable. So here two things are happening. One is each analyst gets too many low level alerts, which misses the bigger picture. And other thing is we have a lot of alerts, like three alerts, which is alerts fatigue sets. So if you see here, we have two different notable alerts, and some are we getting some suspicious from Windows servers, and from the DGA domain we have different types of alerts it's creating. So it's for SOCs, it's difficult to analyze. So now what we'll do is we'll talk about the how RBA can achieve that. I mean, RBA can achieve these notables. So the first thing here is mainly the RBA uses enterprise security correlation search framework to collect the interesting and potential risky events into a single index. We'll talk about that one in the next slide, which we call risk index. And the main things we use in the RBA is risk analysis, adaptive response action, and notable events, and the assets and identity framework. And most of the alerts what we are trigger, it's based on the data models, and we use the SIM, common information model. And in the enterprise security, we have different number of dashboards. Mainly we use the risk analysis dashboard and risk event timeline. Those are the main components that we use in the RBA. So with RBA, instead of having atomic alerts, we have notables that consists of one or more risk events. So in a notable, we have one or more risk events, which is we are grouping it. So the correlation and the aggregate events together, and only generate notable when the aggregated risk is higher than the threshold. So it will be a notable and has a risk associated with it. So, and also we tied that particular notable with a user or a host or in a system, whatever we want to, which is called risk entity. Sorry, which is called entity or source or whatever IP. We we group it to particular source or user or host. So, and also we map to different types of tactics, and might like MITRE attack, or whatever the type of tactics we have, we will attach those things. So for that, if you want to use this one MITRE attack or tactics, you need to have 7.2 version. Then only you can see these MITRE attacks or tactics in the Splunk notables. So if you see here, the difference is here we have two different types of notables. Sorry, total four different types of notables. These are the single notables, and these are with high volumes. But with RBA, what it is doing is it is grouping. Everything is grouping here. Um, and it's creating only notable when the risk score is above our threshold. Whatever the threshold we are mentioned, if it is above it, then only the notable is creating. Otherwise, it's calculating on the back end in the RBA. So I will show you the demo so that you will understand much better way, in much better way. So This is RBA pipeline. So we have various types of data in our Splunk index. They can be any raw logs such as web or firewall traffic, and they can be endpoints events or EDR events, or they can be from the UBA or any cloud services. Then we have something called risk rules, which we will create events out of the raw logs. If you see here, which we create events out of the raw logs, and the risk events are written to the risk index. So which risk rules can be regular? So risk rules can be a regular Splunk queries that can run at schedule time, or we can do some tuning and filtering at this stage. And the risk events are normally written to the risk index. When they send they send as a standard set of fields. What are the fields we want? We'll send it to the risk index. So from there, we have risk incident rule, which we call as RIR. This is where all the risk events are being aggregated and correlated and throttled to become notables. So the notables are written to the notable index, so that from there, whenever the threshold is above thresholds, then it will create a notable, and then it can send to the analyst, or we can send to the source directly, so that it can automate and it can send the results to the analyst. In simple words, what we can say is risk rules are like the inputs to the risk index, and the risk incidence rules are the output alerts. Any questions or anything?
Oh, good.
Okay. So I can say the benefits or the impact of RBA here. So that if you see here, there is a dramatic reduction in overall alert volume, and it's producing high fidelity alerts, and the improved detection of sophisticated threats like low and slow attacks. Like some threats may happen in a slow manner, like the attacker will assign something. They will install something with an app on June 3rd, and then sorry, in May 3rd, and then after some time, after 2 days or 3 days, then he will trigger something using that particular bug, and after 2 days he might do some other things. So these are all the low and slow alerts, right? So you can group all these low and slow alerts using an entity, or using a user, or using a IP. We can group it, and we can assign the risk rules and risk scores, so that all everything will be shown up as a one notable event when the threshold when the threshold crosses our limit. And using this RBA, we can also assign different frameworks like MITRE ATT&CK framework or Lockheed Martin, or we have other different types of frameworks. We can assign all those things say in the notable. And also the productivity of the analyst were increased, which means, because if you see, um, because there is a reduction in the notable events. So since there is a reduction in the notable events, they can spend more time on the most interesting events or the high critical events. And we are decreasing, the performance is improved, right? So this performance is improved without adding a staff. So those are the main benefits of using the RBA. Okay, let me. So, and the other thing is, like with RBA, we can see, we can do, instead of reactive thing, we can do proactive things with the notables. So before going to the use case, I just want to touch base on the risk score, like how we calculate the risk score. So risk score calculation, a little bit of two important components here. Those are the probability and the impact. So the probability in this case is the confidence. If you see here, yeah. which is how likely the risk event malicious. Now the impact is, if the given event is malicious, how badly it is damaging the environment. So we combining these two things, we calculate the risk score. And apart from this, we can add the risk modifier. Like for example, there is a CEO or CTO in our organization, or any IT lead or anything. If you want to count on them, we can dynamically change the risk score of that particular identity or that particular asset using the risk modifier count. Okay, so now let's dive into the use case. So here the main use case is, like for example, on March 2nd, someone from the organization send an email to the competitor. For that, we given the risk score as 15 points. And then again on Sunday, he logged into the computer, his laptop, during the abnormal hours. For that, we considered as a 25 points. So whenever these things happen, we don't want to alert it, right? So we are not alerting at this moment. So and then on Monday, we saw some alert again, as something is downloaded from the his computer. And then after on the same day, he attached some USB to transfer the file. And then we saw that after 2 weeks of that, we saw that he gave a notice. So when we combining all these risk scores, and if it is crossing our threshold, it can be 60 or 90 or 100, whatever the threshold we define. After crossing that particular threshold, instead of alerting like 5 different alerts, we'll have one alert, and we can assign this total one alert to a one notable to a one SOC analyst, and he can have the entire view, right? So that's the benefit of using the RBA. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but can I guess say it back to you just to make sure that I understand it fully.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm hearing you right, like all of these separate alerts may or may not be important, but all of them together are important.
Yes, that's true, Vinny. Yeah, that's how we define those. Because if we assign this alert to one analyst and this alert to one analyst, it doesn't make any sense, right? So maybe think it's because these are all related to one particular user. So when we group all these things by a user, and if the threshold is exceeding our whatever the threshold we define, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it doesn't make.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into the demo so that you can see what are the things we can. Do you guys see still my screen, right?
Looks like there's a question or
Okay.
comment.
Okay. So just a quick. So basically, from my understanding, the risk score is all were calculated in a timeline of 24 hours. I think that is the default, right?
Oh, risk score, yeah, and that's based on our notables, how we are triggering those notables.
Exactly. So, from your experience, do you recommend to have a different timeline, or what is your idea? Because basically, in the example that you gave, it was based in 6 or 7 days, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
Well,
7 days
even
time
more.
period.
Exactly.
Yeah, 7 days time period. Yeah.
Exactly. So basically, I think at this point, what they give you by default, it's 24 hours. So
24
the
hours. Yeah.
question is, do you recommend to modify that timeline to a larger timeline, or by experience, what you do?
Yes, it's based on the use case, Nano. So, whenever we want to alert for, if there is any, because this thing, first of all, the RBA we can't implement at one single day. We want to analyze the alerts what are the alerts we are getting, and then based on that, we can increase the timeline, or if you want to decrease the timeline, those things we can do.
Okay.
So, and also I
Okay.
want to mention one more thing here. Uh, yeah, I'm not saying we are always we should go with RBA RBA notables. Sometimes we need to go with traditional notables also. Like if you know, like okay, if something is happening and if you know that particular issue, then we can directly create an traditional notable. We don't need to go with the RBA, because you know that that is a issue and then action needs to be taken. So you can create a traditional notable. No need to go with RBA. The RBA is for, like, if you are unable to analyze the alerts, then you want to go with the RBA notables.
Exactly. If you allow me, that is the question that I have, or at least that I had last week with some folks in my team, that it's if we should mix RBA alerts with notable alerts. And my suggestion, it was that when we want to, instead of you having notable and risk at the same time, my suggestion was that when we have something like we want to see immediately, like for example, brute force attack,
Yes, yeah,
it's just an example among others. My suggestion was to implement a risk score of 100, because this way we could aggregate the entire. It's a question of approach, but my perspective is always that if we have everything aggregated as RBA alerts, we can include this on the risk score dashboards. I don't know if you share the same vision. This is just my idea. I don't know if the idea is not to mix risk score alerts with
yes,
notable events, because I don't know if it's clever or not, but when we want to see something that it's that a single alert should trick, we wanted to make it visible. I prefer to assign a risk score of 100 points. I don't know if this makes
yes.
sense for you or.
Yes, for single notables, we can do that. If you know, like, okay, this is the critical alert, we can assign the risk score, or we can alert, within 15 minutes or 20 minutes. But if
Yes,
you
yes.
want to analyze for the longer time period, because some alerts, I mean, some, attacks are slow and steady attacks, right? For that, you need to take a longer time period.
Okay. Okay.
And also what you can do is you can do on a particular, asset or identity, like, okay, for a particular host, or for a particular user. If you group it, then you can know how many activities that are going on that for that particular one user or for one particular account. So let me you can see my Splunk screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just taking a few minutes. Come on. Yeah. And right, you guys know, right? So always we go to the incident review dashboard, so that it will show all the notables here, right? So as you said, like uh, for any SOCs, here I'm searching for all time, but since it is a demo environment, to look at these 2,900 notable events, it's in a day, it's difficult, right? So, and if you see here, most of the things are with the system process run whenever they run some commands here, PowerShell commands. We don't need to alert on all those things, right? So, if I show as a risk notables, these 2,900 alerts uh, will group into 13 notables, which is easy for you, right? For any SOCs to analyze these 13 notables instead of 2,900 alerts, right? So that's the purpose of risk notable event. So here, let's take a look here. Notables. And come on, that. And if you see, most of the things are system process, system process, system process. So you don't want to look for these alerts because these are the regular things that are happen on the Windows systems. So what we do here is we'll knock out those alerts, not rule underscore title equal to um, system process. So since these are the regular alerts, right? So I just remove this one. Then now we have 231 notables. Still, if you see here, these are all some uh, system networks, right? So if we expand here for this notable event, here we have written what are the next steps, because we know that okay, this alerts, this kind of alerts, system network connection alerts are quite happen. So we know what are the actions we need to take. So that's the reason here we define the um, knowledge object, like what are the things you want to do. Okay, if this is a command line, use these commands, or if not, drill down to the search and see if this is executed on any other additional machines, and if not, go to the step 3. All those things we are mentioned here, so that SOCs, analyst, can take the action immediately on these kind of alerts. And they can also see similar events by just clicking on discover similar events. So the other thing here is I don't want to alert whenever this kind of uh, command lines are executing. I don't want to alert on these signals. I want to alert if something is happens with this particular issue, then only I want to alert it. Before that, I just want to go and show you here the similar kind of events. If you see, yes, it's happening on other different systems. So we don't need to worry. Just we want to close it, or to assign to other people, or we can close the notable events after performing these next steps. So here, what I want to do is, so how we can achieve this one? I don't want to alert on this one. If something is happening with this one, then I need to alert it. For that, the risk will help us. So I'm going to the risk notable events. And let me see, there are 13 notables. So I just want to, show you one of the things here. See, here it's showing what type of risk object it is, what is the aggregation risk score, and how many risk events we have, and the urgency. Everything will be shown up here, or we can edit it, this one. If you want to add any other parameters or the fields here. So here the thing is, with 7.1, above 7.1 version, we can see what kind of attacks this notable event is related to. So we have different tactics here. If you don't know about any of these tactics, we can just click on it. It will open in a new tab, and we can go through the documentation here, what tactic it is, and what kind of mechanisms they are, the they are trying to apply on the systems, all those things. And the interesting part here is, if you go here beyond to the risk object, here it will show, if you drop down here, it will show the risk event timeline. When I click here, yes, yeah. So as I said here, whenever something is happening, these PowerShell scripts, right? So I don't want alert every time when the script is doing something. I want something is with this is something is happening on this particular machine or with this particular person or particular user. So you can see what are the things that are happen here. And if you see here below, it's also mentioned the what are the uh, events that are contributing to this particular notable. You can see here, okay, some command, who my command was spawned on this one, and you can see all the threat object. That's the main thing, like, and then what are the type of annotations that were applied to this particular notable. So we can see all these are grouped into one notable, right? So, and the other thing apart from this one is, oh, sorry. Yeah, so we can show risk score and everything, risk event, right? And we have the threat topology also, like, okay, so what commands are applied to what are risk objects. Risk object can be any users or systems or whatever, from the assets and identities we can add it. So here we have all the details here. And if you want to look for any particular person, like if you see here, the risk score here is high, right? So from here you can go to the risk analysis dashboard, as I mentioned before. So this dashboard will give you a bigger picture. Like, let it open it. And also I want to show you, there's this one. Yeah, if you see here, there is one correlation search. If you see here, this is the correlation search that I took for 24 hours time range, and this search is running based on the data model. That is the risk data model. Let me open it. So, and also you can see here what are the sources that are contributed to this particular notable event. So these are the all the correlation searches, or you can say as are the alerts that are contributed to this particular notable event. And combining all these risk scores, and if it is crossing its threshold, then only we are alerting using this particular correlation search. Still loading. Yes, let's do it.
So I heard Nuno reference earlier the default time period. So
It's 24.
so you were just showing a correlation search, right? So when we say the default time period for the risk score is 24 hours, really what that means is that there is a correlation search looking for that score to be exceeded in 24 hours, right?
Yes.
So, okay, so what you could have then is a second correlation search that looks for that longer time period, right? And you could probably map certain assets or identities into different time periods.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I thank you.
So from there, if we go to this risk analysis dashboard, we can go from the security intelligence or from the, as I showed like here, right, from the risk object. When we go to the risk event timeline, from there also we can go to this risk analysis dashboard. So it will give a brief overview of that particular, risk object, and we can select what are the type of, risk object type you want to select, and it will give you few details like what are the threat objects that are performed on this particular system. And if you scroll down, that's it. So here, most active sources, uh, you can see these from the notable event also. Here also you can see that it's a different view here, and we can see what are the annotations that are applied to this notable. And you can see here all the commands that are applied here. This is one view of notables. And other thing is like we can go with the asset investigator. Let me open that one. In the asset investigator, we have different kinds of tabs here. We can, excuse me, we can pivot to any, what are the endpoints we have. Uh, excuse me. So here, since it's a test environment, it's not showing up. So if we go with the authentication, what are the things that are authenticated by the user or the by system? We can, I mean, we can see here everything here. And this is about the asset if you want to analyze of that particular asset. And the other one thing I want to show here is risk object, right? Risk object with the investigation risk dashboard. So here we have all these sources that are contributed to this notable event, but we don't know which one is contributed more based on the risk score. So that we can analyze using the investigation dashboard. If you go here, you can see what is the aggregated risk score and what has happened during past 30 days, how many events happened. And if you see here the identity and the details of the user, it will show up here. And you can see here, okay, we have these many sources that are contributed to one notable event. And mainly this is the one suspicious activity framework is the one which showed up uh, risk score of 60. So mainly we'll look into this particular source. And you can see the timeline also here. If you are looking for 24 hours or 7 days, whatever we do here, we can see the timeline. It will show up. And if you go down, this is the one. What are the messages we have that will be shown up here? And from here, if you see something, see PowerShell, okay, this is Windows, quite happen on the Windows systems, that's fine. So if you see something different with respect to the threat object, if you click on it, we can also see like what other events that are contributed and how many uh, people are contributed to this particular threat object. You can see these are the risk objects that are contributed, and how many risk goals are associated with that particular rule, and how many risk objects that are contributed. Everything will be shown here. Let me close this. Yeah, and yeah, I don't want to click on this one. Even if I click on that one, it will show a different one. Yeah, if I click here, how many people risk rules are associated with this particular threat object. You don't want to know on this one. So since here it's a different IP, right? So that's what I'm interested to. So when I click here, it will show how many risk rules are associated and what are the risk objects associated. Everything will be shown here. So yeah, mainly I just want to show like how we can correlate it. And so if I just want to show quickly one thing here, how we return this correlationships based on all these data sources. And as I said in the presentation, right, the other thing we can do is these risk scores that we are defining here are based on the static. But for high priority, assets and identities, or for particular high, if it is a VP or SVP, we want to assign the score immediately, right? The high score. So for that, what we do is here in the configure incident management, configure risk factor editor. Yeah. Here, what we can do here is, if we want to alert for higher level members, we can multiply or we can add the risk scores dynamically. If this particular user appeared in any of the notable event, it will multiply by 1.5 times or 2 times or 5 times, whatever we need. We can multiplication, and it will show the high notable alert immediately on the uh, incident review dashboard. I'm not sure about this one because I never did on this risk factor, but this is the way we can add, like we can add a other risk factor, and then we can add, you want to add it or multiply it. Those are the two options we have. And then we can assign the so risk event field and that particular value, so that in the notable events, when you see it, it will multiply, and then it will add it to the risk score. And we can do the calculation here also. So it's not loading. Yeah, it's a simple correlation search, even if it doesn't load. Yeah, it's a simple t-stats from the data model. We added here everything, the risk scores, and if the risk score is greater than 100, we are alerted it. So let me show you one correlation search, so that we can know how we. Let me go to the notable subnet. So here in Splunk Enterprise, we have the n number of correlation searches. We can use that, or we can create our own correlation searches. Let's say, let's take this example. So here we have, this is the correlation search, right? So let me copy it, and then okay. Configure content management. In the content management, we have different types of things here. Like we can do the correlation searches, or from the analytics stories also, we can create the correlation searches. So it's gonna take another 30-40 minutes to talk on analytics stories. So for now, we are talking about this particular data source. If you see here, this particular correlation search, here we defined, see, this is the correlation search, and at the end we added the risk scores here. As I said, like we use the adaptive response actions, and here we added the risk scores here, and we can add the risk object, and it can be risk object type also. Now we can add n number of things if you want, like again a 5 for a source, and if the source is something sorry, here we should source, and here we can mention that particular user, test user, and then it will alert based on this one and aggregate it. So this is the first correlation search. Based on this correlation search, it will create a alerts, but into the risk index. But whenever this correlation search aggregated, then only it will create the notable event. Any questions? So this is what I want to present today.
Wow. If you allow me just one comment, I really hate these demo dashboards because they are always so conveniently populated
Yeah.
that they always remind me about how my dashboards should be. Out of jokes now, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really insightful, and for me, the biggest point that I took from your presentation is to think about RBA alerts outside of the default 24 hours, because it's something that I was looking for. And
Yes,
it's indeed a different perspective. So this was already very beneficial for me from this point.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very simple. Like first we need to correlate it, and then assign the risk scores. And based on this risk scores, we need to create a notable. We need to create one other correlation search for all those. And also we want to make sure that we need to have. If you see here, this correlation search is it's if you see here, it's calculating just by the risk object and the risk object type. When you do by, you need to have the limit the number of fields here. Whatever the fields you want to write here as a count or the values. At the end, if you you know reduce the by just one thing, like one particular field, then it will give more value to your notable alerts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Off the screen.
I wanted to ask a question. I think I heard I heard Nuno reference earlier the concept of like taking the whole environment and saying we're doing RBA across the whole enterprise, and basically when you encounter that correlation search where you're still not going to actually generate a notable, you're just going to give it a risk score of 100, thereby forcing a pretty immediate notable, right? Nuno, did I hear you right whenever you were kind of describing that approach?
Yeah, absolutely. It was exactly that.
Okay. Like in ITSI, there's like kind of a similar concept where we wouldn't actually like have a correlation search that's searching for anything in particular, right, to generate notable events and then episodes. But on the other hand, anything that we want to run an alert for becomes a KPI, right? And then based upon your alerting framework, right, if that KPI goes a certain way, you get your alert in. You don't have to like have a second search looking for it, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like that. That's the takeaway that I had from this.
Yeah, in the ITSA, we can also group by, right, by need, notable event aggregation policy, we can group all those notables into one alert, but here it's not in ES.
Just one question more. I see a few dashboards that are really new for me in your presentation, and I have the feeling that they are from user behavior analytics, right? Or am I wrong?
No, nothing is from the UBA. It's just from the enterprise security.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for joining.
Good job,
Thank you
Venkatesh.
very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, have a good day.
See you next time. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.